It isn't really, it's just a nice number that people can refer to. I mean, it was interesting, so Fred was saying, they clearly above that, but ultimately, and I had this conversation with a couple of people originally, that it's about how much acquisition costs in your genre, right? So I was trying to go from 10 cents to $1 or $1.50 or some kind of nice even number. Reality is acquisition tends to be $2, $3, $4. In casino games, it's like $5, $6. But then it scales up, right? So then if it's a $5 acquisition, then you need a 50% upsell. So the whole point of the talk was to give you a number that you can remember. And for some people, they'll be like, cool, 10 cent, we can get to that point. And other people will be like, that's never going to be enough. But at least, everything else is simple kind of multiplications on top of that. So the other thing, of course, is that you think about the games that we see, not many people are able to get to that point. So it's a kind of interesting benchmark number, whether it actually means that you're going to be profitable or not, I don't know, but it is an interesting kind of transition from not having a chance to, okay, well, now we've got to kind of punch this chance of actually making this game work. Well, I mean, I tried to do a lot of kind of technical aspects of that, but I think in general, it's basically asking the right questions in the right order. I think, Heather asked a question, I tried to answer it along that lines of, ask the simple questions that you're struggling with. So for instance, I was saying to her, if you've got engaged players that love your game, why, if they're not spending, why aren't they spending? That's a simple question you can ask, and you can dig in the data and find out. If that's not a problem for you, if your problem is that people don't spend multiple times, like I said in the talk, that's a simple question you can answer, because if you can solve that simple question, that will have a direct impact on your revenue. So I think the recipe is, start from the simplest questions and work your way down. And in my talk, I have this list of questions about: is your game too generous? Is there nothing driving repeat spends? Do you have any whales? That kind of stuff, right? If you can go through that list and say yes, no, when you've got no's, you can go and dig into there and find out why. And maybe it's a simple fix, maybe it's something more structural, but at least you're moving forward. You're not just saying, oh, we're not making money, how do we make this more profitable, that kind of stuff. So I think the recipe is ask the simple questions about what your players are feeling and how they interact with your game. And when you can find answers in the data, use that to make better games. At the moment, it's that games are too generous. So, and I said that it's the flip side of the start of my talk where I said retention is quite good now. People are quite good at making highly retained free-to-play games. But the mistake they make is by giving the player too much of an experience at the beginning, they don't have a gap to the premium experience. And so there's loads of games out there which are mega fun and they keep people for ages, but they just don't have, when the people look in the store, they're like, well, why would I pay $2 when I'm having a great time for nothing? It's a hard one because you have to have enough players. So I think you can see if the framework you have is going to work. So do people spend on things that you expected them to and at the times you expect them to? But actually the tuning of like exchange rates to virtual currency and exact timing of offers and things like that, you will always do after launch, because you're never going to have enough players to really understand if that stuff works unless you're willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in soft launch.